Mr. Ken Walters has done extensive postgraduate research at the University of the West Indies, researching in the area of return migration. He was also a campus registrar at the University of the West Indies, Caveville campus for 7 years. He is a human resource management professional who was previously employed by the university as a director of human resources, as a senior assistant registrar with the responsibility of school graduate studies and research, and senior assistant registrar for human resources. Mr. Walters has had a long and distinguished career in HR discipline, having spent 25 years in the field. He's been a senior assistant registrar with the responsibility for human resource management of the academic and senior professional staffing of the university. A senior labor officer in the Ministry of Labor for 12 years, management of human resources at Courtesy Garage Limited. He was the head of human resources and administration at Cable and Wireless, Flow, and the manager of employee relations at Scotiabank at its regional office. In addition, he's provided training consultations for a number of institutions, both locally and regionally, and even internationally. These include BIMAP, CMD, U.W.I, SCS, ILO, BWU, NPW, and the government of Barbados. He is presented at conferences and at campus seminars on return migration. He has also presented a lecture on the return migration in the Barbados Museum annual lecture series and has a chapter in the publication. He has special interests in the management of change and has conducted several seminars to this. He is also a member of the Human Resources Association of Barbados, the Society for Human Resources Management, and the Chartered Institute of Personal Development. Mr. Walters was a member of the QEH Board of Directors and was also Deputy Chairman of the Barbados Accreditation Council and a former Director of the University of the West Indies Corporate Credit Union. And if all of this, because that was a lot of stuff, all of this was not impressive, he's now retired, but continues to teach at U.W.I, Statistical School of Business, in Labor Employment Relations Master's program. This man has a wide fountain of knowledge. Please welcome Mr. Kenneth Walters.
Principal of the CMI Preparatory School for Special Needs, parents, teachers, students from the graduating class of 2023, other students of the school, especially as invited guests. I am pleased to have been invited to share some of my experiences with you on your special day. I want to start off today by congratulating the students of the graduation class of 23 and wishing them every success in their secondary school journey. Let's give them a round of applause again. Okay. And to you, you have successfully completed phase 1 of your educational journey, your primary education. You should, at every phase of your education, do some reflection on what you have achieved today. Do not treat it as the end of anything, but just a point at which you reflect and look to see where you're going to go next, and start to establish goals to achieve the next stage. You're about to embark on the next phase of your education journey, your secondary education. I always say it does not matter which school you pass for at the 11+. I didn't pass 11+. Huh? I was given a bursary at the time because they didn't have enough space in the school, so I had a bursary to go to a secondary school, and it did not make a difference in my life journey. It is what you do with your opportunity. So having been given the opportunity, it is left to you to make the best use of it and try to achieve the best that you can achieve in that journey. So it means committing yourself to achieving your goals, whatever those goals are. I've known persons who have attended all of the secondary schools who have excelled in their chosen professions. So people went to Princess Margaret. In fact, my wife went to Princess Margaret, and she became an outstanding teacher. I know people who went to Garrison, St. George Secondary. I know Keith Goddard, for example, went to secondary. He's now a communication specialist with Sedema, a regional institution. So people achieve outstanding results in their lives, outstanding success. And it doesn't matter where they go to school. It's what you do with that education. My first daughter went to St. James Secondary, and she's now an accountant at a reputable automotive company. I remember when she came and told me that she had passed for St. James. Her mother was all upset, and I asked her if I couldn't go and ask somebody to put her in one of the older secondary schools. And I asked her one question. When I took her to collect her books, do you want to go to school here? And she said yes. And she committed herself to that school. And then when she left school, she was deputy head girl. So it doesn't matter where you go. It is what you do and the sort of support you get from your parents when you make that choice. At secondary school, you are suddenly exposed to a greater range of subjects, extracurricular activities, several teachers each teaching different subjects. And you're going to meet students from all over the country with different backgrounds, different characteristics, different morals, different socialization. It's therefore important that all of you who are going on to secondary school to become leaders in your schools. So we should all strive to be leaders when we get into secondary school. Because if you follow, you will sometimes follow bad company and do the wrong things. And it's important that we make those distinctions in our lives. You'll be exposed to a level of peer pressure that's going to be tremendous. You have to be able to resist the negative influences in the new environment. And that is critical, that you set your own goals, you decide what it is you want to achieve, and you work towards those achievements. And I always remember that I went to a boys' foundation eventually after 2 years at the federal high school. And I always sought to be in a leadership position because I always sought to be a prefect or be a leader in sports, cricket, some activity which could demonstrate your leadership skills. And that is important that people and students be allowed to engage in those activities in their school life. I think sometimes parents are afraid that children will get injured and that sort of thing when they play games. But you can only grow if you are in team sports, if you're interacting with other persons, if you're building relationships, and if you're building interpersonal skills. I think those sort of characteristics have been able to develop over time because of that exposure. When I was young, I was a member of a group called Crusaders Youth Group, which was involved in community activities. I was a member of the AYPA, Angry Young People Association. So you always seek to develop particular skills and leadership skills and certain competencies as you grow through your secondary school life. Because you have the opportunity because of the range of activities they have in the secondary school. And I think we need to encourage our children and our students to do those things. I remember my son was actually playing football and got his foot hurt. And his mother was all concerned about it. But he said to me, these things happen, so continue playing football. He never became very good at it, but basically he still tried. So we continue these things as part of our growth and development. I always say people with goals succeed because they know where they are going. And therefore, something is good. As parents now, you need to sometimes ask your children what they want to become. They may never become what they say at the age of 11, 12, or 13, but at least they have a goal in which they are aiming towards. I always tell young people that I want to be a dentist. You see, I'm not a dentist, right? but it gave me something that I was aiming towards achieving. And it's therefore important that we get our young people to have a goal up front. And it doesn't matter what they say at that point. Some people want to be cricketers. Others want to be entertainers. But at least I have a goal. And in order to become those things, you still have to learn the basics. You have to learn to read, you have to learn to write, you have to learn English, you have to learn maths. So you still have to have the foundation. But at least they have something they're aiming towards. And that is important. One of my guiding mantras is that success is when preparation meets opportunity. And I was speaking to the young man this morning and indicated to him that it doesn't matter where you start. It will matter where you finish. And therefore, you should be looking to start at a point which allows you to start to build the capacity, build the competencies, get all the training you can get, so that when opportunities come, you can take advantage of them. A lot of people want to start at the top, but life is not like that. Only undertakers start at the top and work their way down to bury somebody. But all of us have to start at the bottom. I was telling him that I work as a clerical officer in the National Insurance Scheme in 1974. And it's by dint of studying and building experience over time that I rose to the level of Registrar University of West Indies. So you have to start at that point. And young people, you can start at any point, but you have to then prepare yourself for what it is that you want to achieve. And that preparation will be supported by your parents. They have to prepare to sometimes make the investment. I always tell people my parents were very supportive. They gave me all the support at every level of my education. At secondary school, they paid for lessons. We do physics, because I need to do the sciences to become a dentist. So they gave me the opportunity, right? But I didn't. I think I passed physics at a grade C or something. But they gave me the opportunity. When I was going off to university, my father said, you go along and do your 2 years full time, because I was telling him I was having a challenge doing the 2 years part time and working at the same time. So he said he would support me for the 2 years. I was still at home. Huh? And it's important because parents have to recognize their roles in their children's success. They cannot succeed on their own. And therefore you have that role to ensure that they reach that level. But I always say I've never been forced to have everything fall into my lap. I've had to struggle at every stage of my life and fight to overcome adversity. But I have been resilient. And resilient means that you are able to come back from failure, come back from difficult times, come back and try when you're hurt. And you don't let people put you down. You have to determine what is right for you and what is best for you. But don't give up. The hardest thing in life is when people give up and they decide that they can't go on anymore. Because life is not easy. I always say if it was easy, they would call it easy. But it's life. And life will always have challenges and impact on you in different ways. People who are successful have these characteristics. And I want you, if you don't have them all at this time, pay attention to them while you're going through school, and at home, and when you do get a job, continue to pay attention to them. And I always say these characteristics have helped me tremendously during the course of my life. First one is perseverance. And that's persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So because you don't succeed today, it doesn't mean you're not going to succeed tomorrow. And therefore, you don't give up because at the first try you didn't succeed. You keep trying. And eventually make up. I have had disappointments in work, in searching for work, and finding jobs like anybody else. But I never let that stop me from going forward and looking for other opportunities. I think you have to continue to encourage your children when they have the difficulties to continue to try, to persevere, and don't give up. Politeness. Polite behavior that is respectful and considerate of other people, behavior that is socially correct and shows understanding of and care for other people's feelings. Right, so something, we say things to people that will hurt them. And we should avoid doing that because it basically can create conflict which is not necessary. In today's world, young people seem to believe that every time something happens, you have to retaliate and not know that you can sometimes leave things alone. But if you adopt a position of politeness, using the old tried methods of saying good morning and thank you and those things, up to today, I still, within the university setting, for example, I used to still call my principal sir, or call him principal, because he was the boss, and therefore I was supposed to show him the respect that is due. And I think young people have to recognize that there will be people who are senior to you that you still have to maintain that politeness with. And even your parents. I have never said a harsh word to my parents. In fact, I don't think they've ever heard me cursing. Because of the respect I had for them. And these are the things that we have to ensure that our young people continue to maintain. Punctuality. Sometimes we don't recognize the need that there is for punctuality in Barbados because we have become a very laid-back society. But anytime I'm invited to do something and somebody says 10:30, I am there for 10:30. So basically people have to recognize that if you're going to be doing something in life, and if you're going to maintain your discipline, and all this is about discipline, How do we discipline ourselves to ensure that we achieve the things that we want to achieve? So you're punctual. I'm never late for meetings. I'm never late for work. Because I think it's important that if you're going to be telling people that they should follow a particular rule, you have to establish an example of that and maintain that position as well. Ambition is also an important one, that one has to develop the ambition that you want to achieve things. You want to go to the next level. You want to be the top of whatever you're doing. And that is something that our young people have to develop. Enthusiasm. I was very pleased with what I saw this morning with these young people as they performed their various activities. There was no fear. There was no nervousness. Some people were active because that's the nature of what they're doing. But they participated. They got involved. And they shared with the rest of the group. And the enthusiasm was there because they wanted to be part of this event. And that is something we have to ensure that we also get involved in. Dependability. One has to be dependable so that people can rely on you to do the things that they expect to do. And that is extremely important, that you are a dependable person. I give you responsibility. I make you a head girl. I make you a prefect. I can depend on you to do the job that I've given you. And that is critical, that people recognize that these things are important. I'm just going to call the others: good memory, personal cleanliness. There's an important one. People like to be around people who are clean and smell good and look good. So whenever you leave home to go to school, make sure you're dressed properly, make sure you're clean, make sure you present yourself in the best way that you can. And I think these are important elements of neatness is also important. Respect for authority. Again, we have to have that element of respect for those who have responsibility for us, our teachers, our headmasters, principals. That should be part of your mantra. Always maintain that respect. Patience. Don't expect everything to happen like now. I know we're in a fast food environment. Everybody wants everything now. But the reality of it, that will not happen. My journey through my career took me 40 years, basically. Didn't happen one day. It happened over a long period of time. I have had to do some lateral moves as well as some moves upward. But you have to sometimes make those decisions in your own interest. Whether you can stay in one job as opposed to taking the risks to go into another job and determining what was best for you. So we have to make those choices. A sense of responsibility is also an important one. The ability to get along with others. That is very critical. A willingness to work. Honesty is also an important one. I think we have sometimes lost some of those values because over time there's been some gray lines between what is right and what is wrong. But I really would want all young people to still maintain honesty, honor, integrity, being upright of character, and to do the right things. I mentioned ambition is the path to success, and persistence is the vehicle to which you arrive there. So this is what your goal is, this is what you want to achieve, but then you have to go through the process of preparation and persistence to get to that point. And that is important. Success is no accident. Famous soccer player Pelé, who appeared to be born with plenty of natural talent, continues this quote by adding, "It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing." If you're fortunate in life to reach a point where you find a job that you like doing, hold on to it. Because there will be jobs that you'll find that you don't like doing. But you have to do them to survive. But ideally, you want to get into a position where you have a job where you're enjoying what you're doing. Do not let your current performance determine your future success. I told you I didn't pass 11 plus, but that didn't determine what happened the rest of my life. I went to school, I made sure I learned, I made sure I passed the exams, I made sure I did not get in trouble. No, I didn't get in trouble. Occasionally, there was always trouble seeking you if you didn't want it. Because sometimes people trouble you, you got to respond. But you avoided trouble wherever you could. And essentially, you did all the things that you knew you were right to achieve the outcomes that you wanted. In terms of future careers, I think it's important that, especially the parents, that they get a sense of what the career landscape is going to be in the future and provide the support and guidance. So maybe you're something you got to do some research. If your child said they want to do a particular job, you got to do the research to find out what it is and help them to determine if it's really what they want to do. So you're going to be exposed to a whole new range of jobs in the future. You're in the cyber age, the digital divide, and you have already started to be educated in this new knowledge, including artificial intelligence, that's the theory of development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, such as virtual perception, speech recognition, decision-making, and translation between languages. At its simplest form, artificial intelligence is a field which combines computer science and robust data sets to enable problem solving. It also encompasses artificial intelligence as opposed to human and animal intelligence, and it encompasses the ability most young people already have, cell phones, iPads, computers, and they already have full access to the technologies that I did not have in my time. Huh? I'm fascinated that in today's world you can do almost anything on a cell phone now. My own first experience with a computer was when I was in my 30s. My own first contact with a cell phone was in my 40s. And I was working with some mature secretaries who were afraid to use the computer technology. But the recent pandemic has changed the whole nature of work internationally. Online work, remote work, online meetings, and home working. There are a whole lot of workers who now prefer to work from home and avoid the commuting, spending hours in traffic. However, with all the use of technology, workers will still need to read, still need to write, still need to calculate or enumerate in order to function in this new world. So your education at second level is still extremely important. The benefit to you in the future is that the world will be your labor market. We already have young people who are leaving Barbados to work in places like Canada, the United States, and the Carrington region. Parents have a significant role to play in the success of their children. They have to provide guidance and support for the efforts of their children from when they are born until they die. My father used to support whatever I did, whenever he did it. If I needed funds, he would try and find funds from somewhere to make sure I achieve whatever education objectives I had. Because he recognized that unless I was able to take it to the next level, he may have to be supporting me for a long time. And you want to give your children the best possible opportunities to achieve what they can achieve. So give them the support while they are seeking to achieve it. And that is important. You have to support the academic pursuits, the extracurricular pursuits, and the professional pursuits. And allow your children the freedom to explore. I was fortunate to have two supportive parents who supported me and encouraged me to do the best at whatever I was engaged. Just want to share a bit of my own personal journey with the youngsters, because seeing me stand up here, you might believe that I was always this big, right? There was a time I was young like you. I went to the St. Patrick's primary school. Residence in Christchurch is now the Gordon Walters School. I did all the things that young people did. Played cricket, got into mischief. So I did those activities that we normally do. I got a bursary to federal school, and then I went on to foundation and third form. In those days, you had a very rich childhood. A lot of things that you know able to buy, like making scooters, and you buy scooters. We used to make them. You buy roller skates. We used to make them. You buy tractors. We used to make them. You buy guns. We used to make them. So all the things that you now buy, we made them while we were growing up. Cricket, we made our bats and we made our balls. So our life was a lot different than yours. But I was able to achieve a certain level of growth and development in that process. I played cricket for foundation. I ran for foundation. I left foundation and worked in the public service for a number of years. And then I went off to university and did my first degree. So it was a continuous process of growth from then. I always say I engaged in something called perpetual learning, so that you're learning from every possible source that you can. When computers first became, information technology first became a big thing, I went to BIMAP and did computer courses. Knew nothing about computers. But I decided that I was not going to be left behind. So I went and did the courses that were available. And those have served me in good stead over the years. When I joined the Labor Department, there were courses that were offered across the world. And I made sure I got a chance to attend those courses. Because my trajectory was always to be the top of whatever I do. And like I say, the only time you can be the top of whatever you do is if you prepare to do it. If you get the education, if you get the training, that is the only time you're going to achieve what you want to achieve. And therefore, I would want young people to get involved in that process of achieving what you want to achieve. The last thing I'm going to look at here is the sort of jobs that are going to be available to you in the future. The first one is a software developer. All you know what software is? Yeah? Anybody want to tell me? What is software? I see you shake your head. Software is what, yeah? Uh-huh. The program that runs the computer? Yeah. Yes, sir. Right, software development is going to be one of those big jobs going forward, and it is already big, but the reality of it is that within the world coming, we'll see that more things are being done through the use of technology. And therefore, we have at this stage to start to develop our young people towards that future. And I'll wait until they complete secondary school or until they finish university to tell them that they've got to do these things. But from the outset, they have to do. In fact, there's a quote from the British. The increasing importance of program has caused some European countries to add coding to the primary school curriculum. And here in the UK, one school has even hired a child coding prodigy to teach coding at school in Coventry. How old do you think the new member of staff is? Well, she is just 10 years old. You understand that? In the UK, they have a 10-year-old prodigy teaching coding in primary school. And we haven't even got to the stage where we have computers. You know, we started the process of EduTech years ago, but it never fully developed. The second one is blockchain jobs. Anybody know what blockchain is? Any young people? Yes? Yes, sir? Huh? I don't understand, but basically we're talking about the use of electronic means of moving money around. Huh? Money around, moving money around. Moving money from one place. So instead of you banking with a dollar bill, they will have that as electronic dollar and send it to your friend in Europe. Huh? Okay. That's all right. He participating. That's good. Right, so according to PwC Trust report, blockchain technology will enhance more than 40 million jobs globally by 2030. Earning blockchain jobs are number 2 spot. The future of finance is definitely going to be heavily influenced by the rise of blockchain technology, and that is something that even now we have to start exposing our young people to this concept of online money and blockchain and cryptocurrencies, because that is going to be part of their life. I'm fearful for the old people because we've already asked the old people to use the banking system using a lot of ATMs and whatever. And some of these ATMs will move so fast that before you put in your PIN, the thing move on to something else. And that's a challenge. But that is the way the world is going. They don't want you coming to the bank anymore. They want to go and use the technology and make it for your benefit. Virtual reality jobs. If we choose an industry that's going to be booming for the next decade, virtual reality feels like a pretty good bet. And the latest statistics show that the global market size of AR and VR is forecast to reach $296.9 billion, not million, billion dollars, compared to 30.7 billion size that was registered in 2021. This is nearly a 10-fold increase. So you've heard about the metaverse. Anybody heard of the metaverse? Yeah? What do you think the metaverse is? Huh? A multiverse? Yeah, the metaverse is an environment out there which is now available to persons to do transactions online. And that is expanding all the time. And so they're using all types of virtual technologies to expose the world to. Virtual reality, video games, these are all part of the development in the metaverse. And virtual reality games are now a very big part of what we do. So those are things that we have to be looking at. You would have heard about big data as well. That is another area in which there's going to be a lot of expansion, content creation, where people are writing information for various organizations, and also fashion design is going to be part of that content creation. Artificial intelligence, I mentioned that earlier, that is going to be a big job in the future. Data protection jobs, you've heard about internet security, hackers in the internet. So you have to have people who can protect the organization from those criminals. So these are just some of the jobs that are basically going to be very important. And a lot of the other jobs are going to disappear over time. Entrepreneurs are also going to be a big job in the future. So if some of you want to start your own businesses, that's also something you could look at and become quite effective in. So there's no question that technology is the driving force behind many of the jobs in the coming years. And the reason that jump jobs will no longer be needed, subsequently, if you are considering upskilling, it is worth considering computer science and computer-related online courses or degree programs. Also things like nursing and teaching. Principal? Nursing and teaching are still going to be big jobs in the future because you need people who can be able to teach people to use these new technologies in order to make them functional. So that is also an important part of your process. So let me finish off here. I think he's going to give me 20 minutes. Finally, I want to touch on our educational system. We are currently talking about the education reform and the ending of common entrance examination and the introduction of special schools at the secondary level. I am still of the view that the common entrance examination is the fairest means of assessing our children to move them from primary to secondary. And every child has the same opportunity to attend a school of their choice. I would never want to go back to a system where individual teachers, principals, or the ministry determine where children go to school. Let it be by examination, and I would recommend that the examination is set by CXC and corrected by them as an independent body. The reform needs to be done at the primary school to ensure that all students leave the primary school able to read, write, and enumerate, and reach a 40% pass mark in the exam. We should then provide remedial schools for those who drop below that level and give them a year or two to be brought up to speed. I think that is important because we sometimes leave those students into a secondary school and then they have to struggle to work through that secondary school to perform, to do the same exam that somebody who passed these common entrance at 90, they got to try and pass, having done the same courses. That don't make sense to me. But that is where we are now in terms of our education development. It is important because we have seen the challenges with students coming through the system, even up to university level, because the basic knowledge that they should have had, they don't have it because it was never built in at the primary school level. And they go through secondary school, they might pass with the content, and these teachers not worrying too much about grammar and comprehension, that sort of thing. But then you come to that level, and then when you go and you start writing an application letter to an employer, he will say, but this fella can't write properly. But you got a degree. And that is the challenges that we have, that people can pass exams and get through a system, but there are flaws in their basic education because the effort wasn't made to make sure that they could read, write, and enumerate. I used to do counseling in the prisons and the government industrial schools when I was in the department. And during those periods, I recognized that 90% of the people who ended up in the government industrial schools or the prison could not read or write. And therefore, if you cannot read or write, you really cannot communicate effectively. You cannot articulate properly. you cannot deal with the issues that people are dealing with normally. So we fail them at the primary school level. We don't fail them at secondary school level, we fail them at primary school level. Because that is where you should have developed those skills and built them into the system so that every student that leaves a primary school should be able to read and write. That is where the reform needs to come, not tinkering with a 11% exam. I want to say thank you for listening to me. Young people, congratulations again. I wish you all the best in your future. I hope you've listened to me and you take some of my advice and use it to propel yourself down the road. And someday I may hear that you become principal of your school or Registrar at University of West Indies. The world is your oyster. And I always say there's nothing that you can achieve if you put your mind to it. So I want to thank you very much. All the best.